This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, my name is Daniel Greenfield, and this is the Daniel Greenfield Moment. Good evening, and let me talk to you about something that really matters. Muslims are the new Jews, at least that's the hot media meme of the moment. Obama went to the National Archives a few days ago, and he said that in the Syrian refugee today, we should see the Jewish refugee of World War II. This summer at a synagogue speech, he had called himself an honorary member of the tribe. Now his former senior advisors quoted him as saying, "I think I am the closest thing to a Jew that has ever sat in this office." Not only has Obama decided that he's a Jew, but that Muslims are the new Jews, or the closest thing to Jews at any rate. Muslims are the new Jews is the big media meme that you see everywhere. Jews were oppressed in the past, now the Muslims are oppressed. Never mind that the majority of anti-religious hate crimes still target Jews. Islamophobia is a crisis, Muslims trying to bomb synagogues isn't. But there's just one minor issue with this meme. Jews are a minority, Muslims aren't. The Jews are an ethnic minority of millions. The worldwide Muslim population tops 1.6 billion, and there are around 50 Muslim-majority countries. A quarter of the planet, by definition, can't be a minority. The Jews were a persecuted minority, Muslims are a majority, and historically and even currently they do most of the persecuting. Muslim countries don't have much in the way of human rights, especially for non-Muslims. The Syrian civil war is not a fight against a dictator, but a fight over which branch of Islam will do the dictating and which branch will oppress all the other branches. Jews and Christians have been vanishing from the Muslim world because they have no civil rights under Islam, except of course the right to submit to Islam. It's not about human rights, it's about supremacism. Even in the United States, Muslims continue to attack Jews and target synagogues. In Europe, they're targeting Christians and harassing Christian refugees from the Middle East. That's not how an oppressed minority behaves, it's how a supremacist majority that is used to persecuting minorities acts. Muslims are not the new Jews because the Jews have not gone anywhere. Muhammad expected the Jews to become Muslims, but the Jews chose to remain Jews. Over 1,000 years of persecution followed. The argument that Muslims are the new Jews is racist and even worse, eliminationist. Once you decide a particular group of people has been replaced by another, that's the opening round of genocide. Muhammad decided that his religion replaced Judaism and Christianity, and he and his followers tried to prove their point by massacring and ethnically cleansing Jews and Christians. Over Hanukkah, Muslim groups and an anti-Israel Jewish activist group known as Jewish Voice for Peace decided to hijack Hanukkah menorah lightings by protesting what they deem Islamophobia. Some of these events took place in Syracuse, Durham, Springfield, Massachusetts, and New York City. At no point in time were any of the Jews who were actually coming to celebrate Hanukkah asked if they wanted their religious symbol to be hijacked by Muslims shouting about Islamophobia. Meanwhile, in the White House, Obama went with a Hanukkah ceremony in which fighting Islamophobia again took priority over fighting anti-Semitism, in which the focus was on Syrian Muslim migrants, not Jews being murdered in Jerusalem. This form of hijacking was particularly ironic as Hanukkah is a story of how the Jews fought to reclaim Jerusalem from the Syrian invaders. But as an honorary member of the tribe and the closest thing to a Jew that has ever sat in this office, Obama acts entitled to appropriate Jewish history for Muslim PR. When you claim to be the new Jews, you're entitled to hijack, disrupt, appropriate, and displace the old Jews. That's how Muhammad did it over 1,000 years ago. That's how his followers continue to act when it comes to Jews and Judaism today. The only thing the Muslims and the Jews ever had in common is that the former conquered, persecuted, and enslaved the latter. The phrase Allah Akbar, the shout of many a terrorist and suicide bomber, has its origins in one of Muhammad's campaigns of violence against the Jews. The media house that the Syrian Muslim migrants are just like the Jews fleeing the Holocaust. But the Jews were a stateless people who were suffering genocide at the hands of the majority. The Syrian Muslims are not stateless. They're Syrians. They're not a minority. They're the majority. And they're not suffering genocide. They're the ones perpetrating it. The worst actors in the Syrian civil war are Sunni Muslims. Some Sunni Muslim groups such as ISIS are fighting other Sunni Muslims for power and territory, but Sunni Muslims as a group do not face genocide. They're the majority. It's Yazidis and Christians who are facing genocide at the hands of Sunni Muslims. The Jews had no Jewish state to go to during the Holocaust, and Muslim persecution was a major reason why they didn't have that. Sunni Muslims today have over 40 countries to choose from. If they want land area, they have over 30 million square miles to pick from. It's a territory that is 10 times the size of the United States. This historical analogy involving Arab Muslims using the Holocaust is the one that Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel was shouted down for making. The Arab Muslims sympathized with the Nazis. Not only did the Mufti of Jerusalem play a vital role in encouraging Hitler's genocidal plans for the Jews, but after the war, Nazi butchers found safe harbor in Muslim countries. Many of these Nazi war criminals then converted to Islam. The one thing that both sides in the Syrian civil war agree on is that the Nazis had the right idea about the Jews. The Muslim Brotherhood Sheikh Kardawi spoke approvingly of Hitler and hoped for a Muslim Holocaust of the Jews. He said, and I quote, "The last punishment was carried out by Hitler. By means of all the things he did to them, even though they exaggerated the issue, he managed to put them in their place. This was divine punishment for them. Allah willing, the next time will be at the hands of the believers." But that didn't stop the White House from rolling out the red carpet for his deputy a few years later anyway. On the Shiite side, Assad had threatened to wreak the, again, I quote, apex of the Israeli Holocaust. Hezbollah boss Nasrallah had boasted that if they, the Jews, all gather in Israel, it will save us the trouble of going after them worldwide. In a pre-war poll, 77% of Syrians had expressed support for Hamas, whose goal is the extermination of the Jews. Hating Jews and wanting to kill them is the one thing that brings Shiite and Sunni Muslims together. And those are just the facts. Muslims are not the Jews, for one thing. Muslims really, really don't like Jews. The ADL's anti-Semitic poll ratings for Muslim refugee countries are 92% for Iraq and 87% of Libya. Those numbers somehow manage to be even worse than those of Saudi Arabia, which only scores 74%. And by standards of the Muslim world, 74% anti-Semitic rating is moderate. But those who claim that Muslims are the new Jews also don't like the Jews. What they want to do is appropriate some idea of Jewishness for their own purposes. When Obama contends that he is the closest thing to a Jew, he is arrogantly appropriating Jewishness without any of the commitments or connections of being Jewish. It's no different than Rachel Dolezal pretending to be black and running the NAACP. Rachel may have been misguided, but she wasn't actively malicious. The Muslim Rachel Dolezal who claimed to be Jewish seemed to be driven by a mission to get rid of the Jews. Why else disrupt Jewish holidays such as Hanukkah, except to make the case that the Jews have no right to their holidays, their land, or their history? All things must serve the cause of Islam. This is the same old supremacist idea of Islam that has caused over 1,000 years of violence. And in the 21st century, the violence, the hatred, and the idea that Jews, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, and every other group must submit to the supremacy of Islam is alive and well. Sometimes it's expressed through brutal violence, such as that of ISIS, and sometimes it's expressed more deviously, the way that the Muslim Brotherhood does it, through organizations such as CARE. But either way, it must be rejected and resisted. For those who want to continue to support quality rants such as these, subscribe to the Glazov Gang on YouTube and visit the Glazov Gang online.